Dear Cancer, the nurturing soul of deep sensitivity and gentle beauty. What if I told you that the next 24 hours could shift the course of everything you didn't land on this video by chance? You were drawn here slowly, instinctively, and with perfect timing, because today is your jackpot day, and something in the cosmos has been waiting for you to hear this. Right now, we're standing inside a rare alignment, one of those quiet but undeniable thresholds. Today carries forward this potent convergence of energies. The new moon still offers sacred ground to reconnect with your rhythms, to realign your emotions, your security, and the core of what truly nourishes your spirit. Venus is still glowing in Pisces, gently highlighting what you long for in connection and love, and in the abundance you deserve to receive. And numerologically, the vibration of the 13th of September opens an intuitive gateway, one that awakens inner wisdom, spiritual clarity, and the courage to plant bolder intentions on fertile soul soil. This isn't just a forecast. It's a moment of remembering what's always lived within you. A moment that invites you to rise, not in haste, but in truth, into the life you've been quietly longing for, into the version of you that has been softly stirring beneath the surface. And Cancer, I'm not here to simply tell you what's coming. I'm here to help you claim it, because you've been consistent. You've shown up day after day, even when it felt like the world wasn't watching. Even when the path felt unclear, you kept tending to your home, your heart, your efforts, your quiet hopes. And now the sky is beginning to respond. This day, your jackpot day, isn't only about what you might gain in the material world. It's about something deeper. It's about soul equity. It's about the sacred return that comes from holding your head high even when your heart was heavy. It's about finally being acknowledged, not just by others, but by the universe itself. So before we move on, pause with me. Let yourself feel this. Has something been whispering at the edges of your awareness lately? A dream you can't shake, a number that won't stop appearing, a name that seems to echo louder with every passing day. That isn't random. That's not your mind playing tricks. It's divine rhythm echoing back to you. Take a breath now, deep and slow. Let your spirit lean into what it already knows. And if something is lighting up inside you right now, even if you don't have the words for it yet, I invite you to mark this moment. Drop into the comments and share the number that's been following you. Maybe it's 1111 or 777 or simply 11. Whatever it is, trust it. That's your soul code speaking. Write it down to anchor your intention and seal your alignment in the here and now. And while you're here, let me say something I don't say lightly. Thank you. Thank you for arriving in this moment. Thank you for choosing to lean in. Thank you for letting me speak beside you, even just for a few minutes, in this small but sacred chapter of your journey. Every time you like, every comment you leave, every time you press subscribe, it's not just support. It's a message to the universe, a declaration that you're ready to receive more. And believe me, Cancer, what's forming for you right now, it's breathtaking. Stay with me until the end of this video, because before we reach the final breath of this message, you'll understand exactly why today came for you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll glimpse the version of yourself that's finally ready to rise. So let's begin. There's something sacred about this moment you're standing in. It's not loud, not showy, but it's unmistakable. The energy has shifted around you, not just symbolically, but tangibly. You may not have had the words to name it, but inside, something has been preparing. Every choice you've made, every quiet commitment to stay the course, even when the outcome wasn't promised, none of that was wasted. It was alignment already unfolding. For Cancer, whose soul is shaped by nurturing intuition and the quiet power of devotion, this kind of moment isn't about luck or chance. It's not some roulette wheel in the sky spinning for approval. No, your jackpot day is something else entirely. It's earned grown from the inside out like emotions tended in silence. It's the reward for holding your emotional ground when everything around you shifted, for staying true to what mattered even when no one else saw, and for keeping your integrity clean while the world got loud and messy. When people hear jackpot, they often picture sudden windfalls or flashes of material wealth. And yes, for many of you, real financial growth may be right around the corner. But the deeper treasure isn't in what lands in your hands. It's in what's clearing inside your spirit. It's the soft, unmistakable feeling that you no longer need to shrink to fit into what never honored your fullness. It's the moment you stop apologizing for your worth and realize that every closed door wasn't a loss, but a redirection crafted just for you. The jackpot is the kind of clarity that arrives in stillness when the outside noise finally fades and you realize your inner voice had been guiding you the whole time. This day, this timing, it's not random. Astrologically, you're moving through a turning point. The new moon offers a practical container for you to reset the bones of your daily life. The rituals, the care, the consistency that keeps your emotional roots strong. And Venus bringing themes of connection and comfort now glowing in intuitive Pisces. That's no small thing. It's like a sacred echo, the part of the cosmos that shapes your emotional world, now standing quietly by your side, reminding you were never meant to hustle for what's already yours. You could call it divine timing, but Cancer, you don't need a label to feel it. You just need a moment of stillness to recognize that you've already arrived. This is the space where striving softens into receiving, not because effort doesn't matter, but because you've earned your way to rest. You've earned the right to watch things unfold without forcing the pace. You've earned the peace that comes with no longer having to prove who you are. You get to just be it now. If you felt overlooked or unheard in recent weeks, this is where the shift begins. Because when you're aligned in energy, you don't need to chase. Your presence begins to pull what belongs to you. Whether it's a career move that once felt out of reach, a relationship that mirrors your deepest essence, or a message that lands like a confirmation in your bones. What's approaching has always had your name on it, not because you fought for it, but because you're finally meeting it on the same frequency. And if there's still a thin thread of doubt winding through your chest, let this moment be your reminder. Faith doesn't always come roaring in. Sometimes it's a quiet decision to believe in the seed you planted, even when it hasn't broken through the soil yet. Sometimes it's choosing not to speak fear into the fertile ground of your future. Sometimes it's trusting that the effort you poured into something long ago is just now beginning to bloom. So what now? Stay rooted in your feelings, stay open, and above all, stay ready. The moment isn't waiting, it's already here. The message couldn't be clearer. You're not just stepping into a new chapter, you're the one shaping the lines. The page is wide open, the pen has always been in your hand, and this jackpot day, it's only just beginning. There's a quiet kind of transformation unfolding beneath this new moon, the kind that doesn't crash in with spectacle or demand to be seen, but instead moves slowly, subtly, like the way morning dew disappears as the sun rises. This new moon is more than just an astrological event. It's an invitation from life itself to return to the rhythms that sustain you, to remember the strength in routine, in care, in quiet repetition that heals something deeper than words. The moon, your ruling planet, honors the small, the seemingly insignificant actions that over time become the roots of everything we are. It reminds you, Cancer, that nothing is ever truly small when it shapes your daily world. Under this lunation, you're being offered the sacred chance to pause, to reset, and to reconsider how you tend to your inner terrain, your body, your nervous system, the emotional soil you live and breathe in every day. As Cancer, Your nature doesn't crave chaos or constant movement. You crave steadiness, substance, and beauty that you can feel in your bones. And right now, with Venus planet of connection returning home to Pisces, there's a refinement happening in how you relate, how you care, and how you receive. But for you, this isn't about appearances or harmony for the sake of peace. It's about embodiment. Venus speaks through your senses, through what feels right in your skin, in your space, in your energy. What you attract now will mirror how grounded and true you feel inside. If your inner world is scattered, that dissonance will echo. But if you use this time to realign your rituals, your boundaries, your nourishment, what finds you next will come from a much deeper, cleaner place. This isn't the season for drastic changes or big declarations. It's the season for honest inventory. What's no longer feeding your emotional well-being? What have you been clinging to out of comfort, not alignment? Which habits give you breath, and which ones quietly dim your fire? These questions may not be easy, but under the moon's soft but unwavering light, you're not being asked to fix everything, only to choose with more intention. A single shift made from inner clarity can ripple through your entire life. That might look like drinking something warm first thing in the morning, or softening the voice in your head that always wants you to push harder, or drawing a clear, loving boundary where you've been stretched too thin for too long. Venus returning to Pisces also signals a gentle recalibration in how you love and allow yourself to be loved. The heaviness in certain relationships may start to lift, or they may fall away entirely. If that happens, let it. This moment is making space not for emptiness, but for the kind of connections that meet you as you are now. Not the version of you that had to keep things together out of survival. This is the time to notice who feels nourishing, who feels like ease instead of effort. If someone is meant to return into your life, it will be because you both arrive from wholeness, not need, not nostalgia, but an honest readiness to meet as full-hearted selves. In the rhythm of daily life, it's easy to forget that faith isn't always some lofty concept. Sometimes it's deeply practical. Sometimes faith is setting your alarm just a little earlier so you can breathe in silence before the world begins. Sometimes it's listening when your body says not today. Sometimes it's trusting that even if the plan you made is falling apart, it's only because something sturdier, something more soul-fitting, is finding its way through. In the rush of modern life, it's easy to forget how powerful it is to return to the simplest acts of care, tidying a corner of your space, jotting down what you're ready to release, or naming what you quietly hope to welcome in. But that's not just journaling. That's energetic devotion. That's showing up for yourself with presence. So let this day be your checkpoint, not to criticize or push, but to gently return to center. The new moon doesn't ask you to become someone new. She simply asks you to come back to the version of you that already knows the way, the one that lives underneath the noise, beneath the obligations, inside the stillness. You're not starting over. You're beginning with more clarity than before. And what enters your life from this point forward will match the steadiness you claim today. That is your quiet power. That is your subtle, grounded revolution. Most of the time, it begins in stillness. No grand gestures, no flashing signs, just a soft, nearly invisible shift that only you can feel. Maybe you've caught glimpses like numbers repeating on a receipt that stop you mid-thought, or an inner whisper that nudges you to let something fall away. Or maybe you've simply grown tired of waiting, and now in your bones you sense that something is about to move. That pull in your chest, that flicker behind your ribs, it isn't random. It's alignment stirring. It's your body recognizing that you've stepped into a sacred 24-hour window where change doesn't require hustle, it invites harmony. Think of this moment as a pause in the trail, where you get to drop the heavy bags, breathe deeper, and decide what still belongs to you. Your past is loosening its grip. Your future is beginning to sketch itself with a steadier hand. This is what I often call a renewal of energetic agreement. The moment when you choose with intention which patterns you'll keep and which you'll gently let fall away. You're not just hoping anymore, you're choosing. You're saying with quiet conviction, I'm ready to live in rhythm with the life that truly fits me. As someone who studies both cosmic cycles and the honest mess of human growth, I can tell you the most profound turning points rarely happen in sacred ceremonies or perfect conditions. Sometimes they show up while you're folding laundry and whispering to yourself, I think I'm done carrying this. Sometimes it's in a car parked beneath a quiet sky, when you exhale and finally say, I'm ready. You don't need fanfare to shift your life. You only need truth. That's what real alignment looks like. Not drama, but deep down knowing. Astrologically, this moment is pulsing with meaning. The 11 frequency carries the energy of intuition and awakening a doorway into higher knowing and spiritual clarity. The 7777 sequence. That's a quiet confirmation, a sign that you finally started listening to the part of you that always knew. And 1111. That's a spark in the dark, a signal flare that tells you a new chapter, a deeper purpose is reaching for you. When you see these sequences, don't dismiss them. They're not tricks of the mind. They are echoes like hearing the low chime of a bell right before the stillness of prayer. They're not coincidence. They're your soul tapping you on the shoulder. And now, in this breath, in this day, it's your turn to respond. This might be the moment to write down something you've kept tucked away, the dream that feels too tender to name, the fear you haven't fully faced, the desire you've quietly carried without speaking aloud. Or maybe now is the time to step into a quiet room, even for 3 slow minutes, and say it out loud. I'm done living small. I'm ready for the version of me that's been waiting beneath the surface. Steady and true. Words hold power not just as poetry, but as living vibration. When they come from the gut, from the chest, from somewhere real, they don't just express truth, they shape it. They carve space in your reality. What matters most is that you move with honest intention. If you feel called, light a candle, sip something warm, press your palm to your chest and breathe. These aren't performances. They are messages to your nervous system. Quiet signals that say, this moment matters. This is real, and this sacredness, it doesn't need to look polished. In fact, the deepest shifts often happen while the rest of the world carries on unchanged. Divine timing rarely kicks down the door. It arrives like the scent of rain before a storm, asking you to pause long enough to feel what's already begun. This isn't about proving anything, not to the world, not to yourself. It's about remembering what was always true. You were born worthy, and now you're finally standing still long enough to receive from that place. So say the words. Let them rise from somewhere you trust. Let them belong to you. Let them be enough. The universe is listening not because it's testing you, but because it's already prepared to meet you where you are. Sometimes clarity doesn't feel like lightning. Sometimes it's just the quiet moment when you no longer feel the need to chase. You stop trying to earn your value and begin tending to it instead. That cancer is the real meaning of your jackpot today. It's not about luck. It's not about what arrives on your doorstep unannounced. It's about what's shifting beneath your skin, what's taking root. It's about the silent but certain knowing that you've outgrown what once felt like home, and that discomfort you've been carrying that wasn't failure. It was the sound of your soul expanding, The subtle friction that comes when your energy has moved beyond an old container. Choosing to walk away from what no longer fits isn't quitting. It's clearing space for what finally does. That kind of awareness can't be bought. The turning point, a quiet crossing from a life that simply happened to you to a life you're shaping with your own hands. When I speak of a jackpot in your astrological story, I mean alignment. The soft, exquisite moment when what you've been sensing inwardly begins to show up in your outer world. When timing syncs up, when an opportunity lands, or a message arrives and it catches you in the chest, you feel it not as coincidence, but as confirmation. A door swinging open right on time. Maybe someone returns after long silence. Maybe a sign, a name, a memory appears, and your whole body knows this means something. Not from your head, from your bones. This is what unfolds when you stop waiting to be seen and start seeing yourself more fully. Venus and Pisces may be stirring harmony in the sky, but it's moving through your chart as a quiet softening. You become magnetic, not because you've changed your surface, but because you've stopped leaking energy through self-abandonment. You speak to your reflection with more patience. You move slower but more surely. You say yes only when it feels true in your body, and that alone begins to shift everything. Your financial flow may begin to shift, not in sudden windfalls, but in the kind of steady unfolding that mirrors how you've come to value yourself. The more you honor your own worth, the more the world meets you with opportunities that don't just pay the bills, they reflect your deeper values. And if you've been waiting on a call, a green light, or a door that felt stuck, this may be the moment it gently swings open. Not because you forced it, but because your energy now carries the quiet weight of readiness. The world begins to respond not to the idea of who you could be, but to the grounded presence of who you already are. In love, don't be surprised if someone from your past reappears. But before leaning in or walking away, ask yourself, are we different now? Have we both grown in real tangible ways? Because the you that's rising doesn't belong to old stories or emotional habits. You've earned love that meets you with depth, not love that reflects who you are becoming, not who you once had to be. In work, something that once slipped through your fingers might find its way back to you. Don't dismiss it too quickly. You may be better equipped now, more anchored, more self-aware, more prepared to say yes to what truly fits. And when it comes to your health, even the smallest gestures or warm lemon water to begin the day, or 5 intentional breaths before you rest, can carry more healing than you expect. You're not just restoring your body, you're building a new relationship with it. At the heart of it all, your jackpot is this. You no longer have to chase what belongs to you. You only have to align your life, your pace, your care, your choices with the truth of what you need. And when you do, the world doesn't just give way. It reshapes itself to meet you. This isn't fantasy. This is what happens when you clear space, choose differently, and make yourself available fully without apology for something better. And you, Cancer, are finally open. Not because you're striving harder, but because you've settled into who you are, and that's more than enough. When the energy around you begins to soften and expand, when doors open, when clarity arrives, when the blessings begin to flow, it's natural to pause and simply receive, and you should. That moment is yours. You've earned it with every quiet act of trust. But there's something sacred that begins to stir when you realize this too. What's flowing toward you isn't just for you. It's meant to move through you, shaping the world around you in ways only your presence can. That's when your transformation begins to echo beyond you. That's when the quiet shifts you've made internally become a new foundation for the people around you. As a Cancer, you're not just here to create a calm, nurturing life for yourself. You're here to hold the kind of presence that helps others feel safe enough to grow too. Maybe you've sensed it for years, how people are drawn to you in moments of chaos, how your steadiness calms the room, how, even in silence, you carry a sense of grounding others instinctively lean into. But what if that steady, nurturing nature of yours, that deep loyalty to what's real, is now evolving into something even more powerful? What if you're not just a stabilizer, you're a quiet architect of change, and this jackpot day you're living through isn't just a personal opening, but a turning point that positions you as someone who shifts the atmosphere simply by being true to yourself? Think of it like this. If you're the first in your family to stop chasing and start receiving, your healing becomes a ripple that softens generations. When you choose to see life through the lens of sufficiency instead of scarcity, you're not just rewriting your story. You're laying down new ground for the ones who come after you to stand on. That's how energy moves, not just through words, but through what you embody. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to push anyone to change. The more you live in alignment with your own truth, the more others feel what's possible for them just by being in your field. And that quiet leadership, it's needed now more than ever in a world running on noise and comparison. Your ability to slow down, to choose what's real, to offer steadiness instead of reaction. That's not just a personal gift. It's becoming a collective medicine. But let's be clear, leadership isn't about control. It's not about overextending yourself or carrying what was never yours. It's about modeling what it looks like to live in integrity, to move with intention, to choose grounded faith over panic, curiosity over judgment, presence over performance. I've seen this kind of shift firsthand. One woman I worked with came from a lineage of lack. Money was always scarce. Love always came with conditions. For years, she lived in overdrive, pleasing, proving, surviving, until one day she stopped. She slowed down. She chose to do things differently, to honor her energy, her body, her enoughness. And slowly, the world around her began to change. More support, less chaos, opportunities that once seemed out of reach quietly arrived. But what moved her most wasn't the external change. It was the shift in her siblings. They began speaking differently. They stopped expecting life to hurt. They started to hope. That's what happens when someone becomes the first to say, "This ends with me." That's where the ripple begins. And that's exactly where you are now, Cancer. You're not just stepping into something new. You're becoming the place where new things take root. Your stillness is speaking louder than noise ever could. Your choices are planting seeds. Your boundaries, your yeses and nos are shaping a different future, even if you don't fully see it yet. So today, as the gifts begin to reveal themselves, the clarity, the opportunities, the deep inner yes, ask yourself, how can I honor this moment, not just for me, but through me? Not by effort, not by overgiving, but simply by being fully and honestly who you are. You don't have to change the world in a single day. But if you choose to share what you're receiving through a softened word, a stronger boundary, or a quieter way of being, you become part of something far bigger than you realize. And that, Cancer, is the real reward. Not just receiving the good, but becoming the place where good begins. If you've arrived at this point, Cancer, let yourself be still. Not just to listen, but to feel what's now within reach. You've walked through a journey of release, remembrance, and return. And now, as you stand in the middle of this sacred window, the next move belongs to you. Will you allow what's meant for you to truly arrive, not just at your doorstep, but in your body, in your breath, in the way you hold yourself in the quiet moments? We often wait for something outside of us to shift, a loud sign, a dramatic change, a moment that saves us from standing still. But what if I told you the real turning point isn't coming from beyond you? What if the miracle is already here, not in the sky, but in your hands, in your choice to believe again, to let go of what weighs you down, to take one honest, grounded step today. That isn't waiting on magic. That is magic. There's something steadying, something almost holy about saying, I'm not stuck anymore. The old story doesn't own me. Even if you've tried before and slipped, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're arriving now, with more roots beneath you, more clarity in your chest, more truth about who you are and who you've never needed to be. So ask yourself gently, what will I no longer make room for in my life? What if I stopped deflecting the blessings already reaching for me? Who could I become if I stopped holding back even a little less each day? These aren't just musings, they are invitations. They are the doorway to a different way of living. Remember, nothing outside you changes until you change your relationship with what you already know to be true. And right now, the air around you is thick with possibility. Something real wants to take form, but you're the one who has to open the door. No one can walk through it for you. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It starts with a breath, a choice, a pause, a boundary, a single moment of honesty with yourself. Before anything else, thank you truly for being here. Your presence, your willingness to stay with this message, to listen, to feel, it means more than you know. Every kind word, every comment, every act of engagement you share here helps this space stay grounded, real, and full of something rare. Genuine connection. You're part of that now. You belong here. If this message touched something inside you, I invite you to anchor it. Let it land. Leave a comment with 11 if you feel ready for what's next. For the kind of beginning that doesn't rush but roots. For alignment that doesn't demand but calls you home. And before you move on with your day, let me ask you one more thing. What would it feel like to finally live as if nothing is missing? Because maybe, just maybe, what you've been waiting for has been waiting on you. To see yourself clearly, to stop resisting what feels true, to receive without hesitation. You don't have to chase what's already aligned with you. You just have to stop turning away from it. Jackpot isn't some moment in the distance. It's what unfolds when you're grounded, awake, and open to what already wants to grow in your life. And right now, Cancer, you are all of that. So stay soft, stay present, keep choosing what feels real. I'll be right here beside you, whispering quiet truths, holding space, and believing in the quiet strength that's already carrying you forward. Until next time, tend to your energy gently. And remember, you are the key you've been waiting for.